Listen, now that everybody's gotten their memorized, pre-prepared slogans out of the way, we can actually have a real discussion now. The reality and the fact of the matter is you have a bunch of people, professional politicians, super PAC puppets, following slogans handed over to them by their 400-page super PACs. The real choice we face in this primary is this. Do you want a super PAC puppet, or do you want a patriot who speaks the truth?
All right, folks, so we are coming to you this morning from a hotel room in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I literally just got back from the Republican debate. It's quite late. I'm honestly pretty tired, but I did, while it's still fresh in everyone's heads, want to give you that first take, quick, instant analysis video of everything we just saw. So let's do that. Okay, really quickly, just got off of the Republican debate. Here are my first instant thoughts. All right, 2 words, main theme of this video. Vivek won. Okay, it was absolutely Vivek Ramaswamy's night in many ways. And in a second, we're going to go into all of the details of that, of my favorite moments and the moments I think he truly stole the show. But I think big picture, what it really came down to with Vivek was that A, he was the biggest personality on that stage, and also B, he was the only personality on that stage in many ways that truly understood the Republican base and where we're at and how we feel these days, okay? So, but, let's talk about the personality front first. I think it really comes down to the fact that he absolutely stole the show, right? Not just in terms of the memorable and at times very substantive things that he said, but also the fact that the attention seemingly just revolved around him, because when it wasn't him, it was him getting attacked. Think back, if you saw that debate, to the most memorable moments, and it all has to deal in some ways with Vivek. Whether you think Vivek was going off or losing, right? In the similar way that this kind of happened with 2016 Trump, he was the focal point of attention. The whole debate, the whole discussion afterwards, as you may see on the internet, right, is revolving around him. That is absolutely what he needs. That, I think, is going to launch him a lot more as a candidate. And I think a lot of America tonight was introduced to Vivek. And regardless of how they feel, he's out there now. They're thinking about him. And that's good for his candidacy. Now, on the flip side, what I will say is that does spell a lot of trouble, folks, for Ron DeSantis, okay? Because this night was his chance to stand out, which is something he has not done much thus far, right? He has been fairly forgettable. He has failed to really grasp attention. Not a lot of people are even really talking about his campaign, and this is part of the reason he's been slipping so much in the polls, right? Because it's not that he does anything bad particularly. He's just kind of forgettable. He's kind of just there, right? And this was his night to finally get people talking about the name Ron DeSantis. He had to. It's not a matter of he should have. He had to steal the show tonight if he wants to have any chance in this primary. And frankly, it was the same thing. It's the same thing you've seen this entire campaign, which is he didn't say anything bad. Right, he didn't have a monumental screw up, but he was just completely forgettable. There were many different moments where Vivek and others are going back and forth. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't support Ron's candidacy for president, but I'm thinking to myself, it's like, Ron, what are you doing, right? Wouldn't this be his moment to step up and do something? And he didn't speak up, right? He didn't speak up a whole lot. He frankly kind of came off as a side character in that debate. You may remember a lot of different moments from that debate. Think to yourself, if you disagree with me especially, think to yourself, of all the memorable moments that you think of from that debate, does a single one of them really involve Ron DeSantis? I think the answer to anyone who's being honest is frankly no. Most of them, if not all, though, did revolve around Vivek Ramaswamy, which is precisely why I say, regardless of how you feel about him, he absolutely won that night. He stole the show on that front, right? And Ron DeSantis, frankly, felt like something of a sideshow, not the top guy in the polls, at least on that stage, right? So and that really just like I said, sum up the whole Ron DeSantis campaign as a whole. Completely forgettable, not terrible on the issues, but forgettable and lacking the it factor. And honestly, maybe this is a bold statement, but I think I'm going to call it here right now. I think it's over for his campaign, right? I say now with almost certainty, I don't think he'll be the Republican nominee, not because it's too late in terms of time, but just because, folks, I genuinely don't think the guy is capable of doing what it takes in terms of grabbing the attention, right? Because this should have been his night, his opportunity tonight to finally break out and do that. And the more I look at him and think about it, I just don't think he's that guy. I just don't think he has the personality. I just don't think he has the it factor to really pop out to people. And I don't know what you do. You can't grow a new spine or brain or whatever it is, right? So I don't know how that's going to work. So frankly, I think, he's been outshined completely. And I think the other big problem he has, just to finish on the thought of DeSantis here, the big problem he has is that his coalition has been split tonight. I truly believe that. Because what is the Ron DeSantis coalition? It's basically, in essence, it's people who don't want Trump as the nominee for a number of different reasons. And I would say there's two kind of camps within the Ron DeSantis camp. There is the more pro-Trump camp who generally likes Trump, thinks he's a good president and all that stuff, but doesn't want him to be the nominee in 24 for whatever reason, electability, age, whatever it is. And I think tonight, Vivek Ramaswamy won over that camp. Right? Because he stood out more than DeSantis as the quote unquote alternative to Trump. And even if he's not really even running to be the, all right, sorry, my phone keeps falling over. So we're just going to continue the video from this angle. Okay. But like I was saying, I think Vivek tonight kind of stood out more so than DeSantis, like I said, because DeSantis was kind of just there. He was forgettable. He stood out as the sort of Trumpism without Trump guy. I'm not saying I even support that. I'm just saying if you are a guy who's like, oh, I like Trump, but he's too old or maybe too much baggage for electability or whatever, I feel like Vivek kind of stole Ron DeSantis' thunder on that regard. And then on the flip side, right, if you really are one of the Republicans who just genuinely despises Donald Trump, which there is a minority in the party that does, we should acknowledge that, it's true, right? I think that even a guy like Christie kind of stole the thunder in that regard, because obviously I disagree with Christie on virtually everything. I think he's a fat slob. I can't stand him. But if you are one of those anti-Trump neocons who just hates everything about the guy and hates everything that MAGA stands for, Christie tonight, at the very least, he was articulate, right? To his own ends, I think he did a good job. So I think he really emerged as the big anti-Trump and MAGA guy. Right. So if you're more MAGA, but you don't want Trump, quote unquote, you go to Vivek. Whereas Chris and maybe Mike Pence and some other people to another regard split the coalition on the other side of the coalition. So that's why I say legitimately, there's another reason I think Ron DeSantis is kind of screwed going forward is now there are viable alternatives to him in terms of what you want. Right. But with Vivek and Christie, I think in a way kind of split apart DeSantis's base tonight, if that makes sense. I hope what I'm saying makes sense on that front. So just overall, to close on that thought, I do genuinely believe that Ron DeSantis is in political trouble here. The DeSantis people can get mad at me for saying that. But like I said, I'm genuinely just honestly breaking down this debate. OK, and just to give you an example here of what I'm talking about, I think what really sums this up is that climate change moment, right? When they asked him the climate change question, DeSantis tries to have his go off moment. He interrupts the moderator. He's like, listen, and, it should have been his moment. I didn't think he was doing a terrible job, but Vivek once again stole his thunder, stole the energy from him simply by being a bigger personality than Ron DeSantis is capable of having. Check it out.
A show of hands. Do you believe in human behavior is causing climate change? Raise your hand if you do.
Look, we're not school children. Let's have the debate. I mean, I'm happy to take it to start. Alexander, as somebody that's handled disasters in Florida, you got to be activated. You've got to be there. You've got to be present. You've got to be helping people who are doing this.
And answer the question?
And here's the deal.
Let's just answer the question. So I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax. And we have to declare independence for it.
Right. So that basically sums up why I thought Ron DeSantis got outshined tonight, as it just seems like most of the campaign for him has been. Right. So anyways, enough about DeSantis, folks. I do want to move on now to perhaps the more fun part of this video, which is talking about Vivek in some of his best moments there. OK, and I think one of the big things that sticks out is the fact, and this is another thing that really helped Vivek besides his own personality, is the fact that all of the top people who went after him, when you think about it, who are the three big people that went after him repeatedly, for some reason they had it out to get him the whole night. It was Mike Pence, Christie, and to a lesser degree, Nikki Haley, right? They're all, I don't know why. I don't know who told them to do it, but they're all ganging up on Vivek, okay? And who are those three people? They're three of the biggest neocon establishment Republicans on the stage, right? No one likes Christie. No one likes Mike Pence. Very few people like Nikki Haley. And I think the fact that they went out there and decided to make Vivek their top enemy for some reason, again, I don't know exactly why, but the fact that they did it really does, just analyzing here, help Vivek's image even more, because Vivek is running as trying to be like 2016 Trump. He's clearly trying to copy 2016 Trump in many ways. I'm not even saying that in a bad way, but it's clear that he is, right? And the fact that some of the least popular people in our party, right, are the ones who are ganging up on him, I think that only helps Vivek's anti-establishment image. Whether or not you trust him, whether or not you truly believe he's genuine, I'm just saying in the eyes of many voters, I think Vivek actually greatly benefited from Christie attacking him and Mike Pence attacking him and all that different stuff.
Well, Mike, I think the difference is you might have, some others like you may have on the stage, it's Morning in America speech. It is not Morning in America. We live in a dark moment, and we have to confront the fact that we're in an internal sort of cold cultural civil war. And we have to recognize
American
that
people
in order
with the
to actually
failed
win.
government in Washington, D.C.
Actually, the biggest thing I would say is the discussion over Ukraine. Right? He was the only one on that entire stage. And I guess it's not surprising, but it is disappointing that said that he would not continue to fund and arm this insane proxy war in Eastern Europe.
Is there anyone on stage who would not support the increase of more funding to Ukraine?
We would
not support it.
Europe needs to step up. I mean, I would have Europe step up and do their job.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
This doesn't particularly surprise me, but it's still insane to think about. Like, this is the GOP, frankly, folks, without Donald Trump. The entire stage, besides one guy there, wants to return to the days of George Bush foreign policy, right? As much as they'll say Biden is bad and look, we want to drain this. No, like, it's all one team, okay? And like I said, that shouldn't surprise anyone. But, you know, these people will go out there and claim Trump is old. We want a vision forward. We need to move into the future. But you notice very often for people like Nikki Haley, for all these clowns, all that is code talk for is actually going backwards to the days of George Bush and John McCain. And there they are saying it openly. And you know what's so out of touch about it? What I was thinking in that moment and absolutely just pissed me off is the fact, folks, that, you know, all of those candidates spent the whole first half of the debate, first quarter, I should say, talking about fiscal conservatism. It was one of the first questions, right? Balancing the budget, all this different stuff. Folks, it is not fiscally conservative to send billions of dollars to Ukraine, okay? And what really infuriates me about it is, like I said, they spend the beginning of that debate talking about doing stuff like cutting social programs and balancing the budget and all this stuff. And those are things that I frankly do agree with on principle. Obviously, like I'm not saying that federal spending isn't a problem. Obviously, we do need to rein in our spending, rein in these social programs. But do you understand the image that gives off, right? Because on one hand, you say you want to cut stuff for Americans. Again, think what you will of the social programs. I'm not saying they're perfect by any means, but it is so patronizing and hypocritical and insulting. It is anti-American to say on one hand, when it comes to social programs and stuff that is meant to help Americans, we want to cut all of that as Republicans because we're fiscally conservative. But when it comes to sending arms to Ukraine, like Mike Pence says, send them even more. We have enough money, all of that stuff. It is hypocritical. That's not fiscal conservatism. Mike Pence, Christie, any of you people, that's not fiscal conservatism. That is anti-American hypocrisy. And, you know, frankly, I think it's a big reason why a lot of Americans who otherwise might, you know, they're not down with the woke stuff. They're not down with everything the Democrats stand for. But when the GOP is out here saying, A, we're going to cut Social Security, we're going to cut the social programs because of fiscal conservatism, but then they're totally hypocritical about it because when it comes to sending money to people who are not Americans, they're the biggest fiscal liberals on the planet. Do you see how out of touch that is? Do you see how unelectable and frankly insulting to the American people that is? And so, you know, like I said, not surprising to me, but it does tell you a lot. Only one person on that entire stage would give a semi-reasonable answer in regards to funding the war in Ukraine. So, you know, that's how I feel about it. Closing thoughts here to kind of recap. Like I said, DeSantis, I just think he didn't really do what he needed to do. And by proxy, Trump won the night because, you know, that's his main challenger. Obviously, his main challenger didn't get the job done. So I think in the end, Vivek won the debate. but Trump won the night, if that makes sense. On the neocon side, Christie, I thought solidified himself as the most articulate, viable, anti-Trump neocon globalist of them all. Obviously, I can't stand Christie, but just on that camp, I do think he did better than Mike Pence. He certainly did better than Asa Hutchinson, who totally fell out of the mix there. So I thought Christie won that side of the party. I think he will go up maybe 1 to 2 percentage points. Oh, wow, so much, right? But I genuinely think he will, because I think from his perspective for the neocons, I thought he did a good job for them, right? Obviously, I can't stand him, but there you go. And lastly, like I keep saying, Vivek, star of the show, it kind of reminded you. I'm not saying he is, okay? I think that'd be insulting to say that he is, but it did, in a sense, remind you a little bit of the vibe of 2016 Trump, right? The focal point on that stage, all the neocon establishment people going after him. So, it was something to say the least. Everyone is talking about him now. And you guys can let me know what you think. And what do you think about Vivek's future? Because that's my big thing going after this is, what is his future going to be in the party? Because he's very popular right now. He's doing very well right now. But is it going to be a spur of the moment? Or is he going to last as a long-term star, right? Is he going to be like Republican Obama? I don't even mean that in a bad way, just as kind of a young guy who comes in, revolutionizes the party and its politics. Is he going to be Republican Obama or Republican Beto O'Rourke, right? Time will tell, right? We don't know yet, but you can let me know in the comment section down below. I'm genuinely unsure of that at the moment, and I think that's the big question going forward, but I think it was certainly a Ramaswamy night. And yeah, I mean, you guys can let me know what you think of, who do you think won? Let me know in the comment section down below. With that said, one last thing before we go, I do want to thank the RNC for inviting me there as an influencer, And let me address this, right? Because some of you guys are mad at me that I even went to the GOP debate. You're like, why'd you go? But look, let me say this genuinely. I do, as much as I do criticize the GOP, and I'm not going to back off of that, even because they invited me to the debate, right? I'm an honest commentator. I'm going to tell you how I feel. At the same time, I do genuinely want what's best for this party. Okay. And in a scenario, because some of you guys are mad at me, in a scenario where one of my biggest criticisms of them has been what? A, they don't really pay attention to young people. And then B, a lot more importantly, they don't really pay attention to this whole internet sphere of politics. In the situation where they actually do pay attention to us and do something nice for us, it's like, what am I supposed to do? Say no? So I genuinely, people can get mad, but I genuinely do want to say thank you to the RNC for, allowing us to attend and all of that stuff, and certainly, I had a great time, and I don't know what people think of it. It is what it is, right? We're not ignoring Trump. Okay. We're going to Thursday and Friday talk all about Donald Trump. And, I obviously still support Trump. But I don't know. You can't please people sometimes. I try to do journalism and content, and people get mad. It is what it is, folks. Anyways, with that said, one last thing. They did give us a tour of the backstage, and I'm not sure how many of you guys care, but I will close the video with this. I do want to kind of show you guys a little behind-the-scenes here look of all of that and wrap the video up with that. So with that said, folks, be sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. One more time, thank you to the RNC for inviting us. And I close with this. Here is the behind-the-scenes look at my experience yesterday at the GOP debate. All right, folks, so we actually had the great pleasure of getting backstage and on the stage here at the GOP debate. Why? Because your boy got connections like that. It's true. But the GOP has wanted me to show you this. So this is where the stage is going to be tonight. I believe Ron DeSantis is going to be in the middle. I'm not sure where each candidate goes, but that's the stage over here. I believe the candidates will debate on, if you'll take a look here, on these things. I believe they're called microphones, I think this is called a podium, not sure. As you can see, Fox News, Democracy 24, they will be streaming. And over there, if you look over there, that's where the moderators are going to be. And that's where, I think those are called chairs, and that's where the audience is going to be. So, yeah, I just want to show you guys we are on the stage. In fact, if I go over here, this is DeSantis's, right? Or is it this one? This one? Okay. So, everyone thinks I don't like Ron DeSantis. I actually am Ron DeSantis. So what are you going to say about that? DeSantis people. True. But yeah, we are here at the GOP. Very cool, folks. Just want to show you.